Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, No Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I'm not going to do a fight recap, as a lot of people probably would have suspected that I would have done by now, for Gervonta Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia. I'm not going to do that. I don't necessarily feel like the fight needs a fight recap or anything like that. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the fight, so there's not a whole lot to rehash. However, there are two questions that I want to pose in this video concerning Gervonta Tank Davis. The first question is, what do you think about the performance? So overall, a lot of people, other fighters, potential opponents of Gervonta Tank Davis are saying that was not the best performance in the world. Now, that's the first question. The second question is, do you think the Gervonta Tank Davis that just defeated Hector Garcia can beat Ryan Garcia with that performance? Really quick, if you like the videos, please take this time, this opportunity right now to subscribe to the channel. All you have to do is click that button, but also hit that thumbs up button. It really does help and support the channel. So let's get back to it. What do you think? So the first question is, was that a great performance? No, it wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a bad performance. It was a fun fight. Was it like truly entertaining? No. Hector Garcia didn't do what Hector Garcia does. And I think Tank was just in a rush to try to do what he does. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Hector Garcia normally throws a lot of punches. And he didn't throw that many punches. He was going to play the waiting game, and he was just going to counter all night. Or if you're going to counter all night, I don't understand why Tank didn't just take the lead. Now, he did say in the post-fight conference that he didn't necessarily want to put himself out there like that. He was like, no, that's why during the fight there was a lot of stalling from moment to moment. And Tank said, I don't want to just get caught out there with something, which totally understandable. I get that. But at the same time, if you have a volume puncher who isn't actually working the volume, take advantage of the fact that he's not working the volume, because he could turn it on at any given moment. Take advantage of the fact that he's not working volume. He wasn't working volume. In fact, Hector Garcia wasn't doing a whole lot in that fight. He did have a few moments, not a lot. He had a few spots, not a lot. But he was present. I thought he would be more present during the fight because he does have a lot of the attributes that could give somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis problems and trouble down the road in a stretched out fight. But if you're not going to utilize your gifts, you're not going to utilize your what you do well, well then everything else is, I guess you would just say, counted as loss. I mean, you're not gonna work on those things, and you just want to sit there and wait. Well, so that's number one. Hector Garcia waiting. Now you have Tank, who's trying to rush everything. And it's like, I get it, you hit hard. I get it, he's not doing a whole lot. I get it, you want to impress the crowd. I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it again. Forget the crowd, okay? Forget the crowd. Because the reality is, if you get knocked out, the crowd will jump on whoever won. Forget the crowd. Do what you have to do to get through the fight. I understand that people bought their tickets. I understand all that. But forget the crowd. You need to fight another day. You need to continue winning. Eventually, the people will love you if you just keep winning. So here's the thing. When you talk about, well, other fighters said, Devin Haney said that he looked flat-footed, Tank Davis. He did look a little flat-footed. He didn't show a whole lot of the explosiveness that he's known for, which is kind of surprising, especially when you have a stationary target like Hector Garcia, who, again, he not only wasn't letting his hands go, but he wasn't moving his legs either. So it's just like, that's why I didn't totally understand the amount of stalling from Gervonta Tank Davis. I get it from Hector Garcia because Tank hits harder, so I get it on his end. I do not understand it for Tank Davis's half. I don't understand that. It just seemed like he rushed everything, but then sometimes I get it. You wanna get the fight going. You want to get the fight going. Totally understand that. I want to entertain the crowd. Totally understand that. But just pot-shotting is not going to cut it all the time. Yes, you hit hard, but you're not a one-punch knockout artist all the time. And you can't bank on that one punch. What made the Rolly fight so beautiful from a boxing standpoint was everything was timed, everything was set up, everything was orchestrated by Gervonta Tank Davis. And then you look at this fight with Hector Garcia. That's why going in to my fight breakdown, I'm like, this is a no-brainer how he's going to set Hector Garcia up. Plus, Hector Garcia likes to throw a lot of punches. He's going to walk into something. It's a no-brainer. And that should have been the same strategy for Hector Garcia that Tank had for Rolly. And it wasn't. No, he's not as big as Rolly, and no, he's not as heavy-handed as Rolly, but volume punchers are usually aggressive. They're usually aggressive in their tactics because in order to throw a bunch of punches, you need to be aggressive. You can't just, I'm just going to sit back and wait and then throw 50 punches in a row. It's not how it works. A volume puncher is typically the one who's going to be doing the stalking. Hector Garcia wasn't doing any stalking. So it was just weird. Hector Garcia totally didn't do Hector Garcia. And then Tank totally, from moment to moment, turned on the gas and then stepped off the gas. And it was it a fun fight to watch? It was entertaining, I suppose. It wasn't the most entertaining that I've seen from Tank Davis, but it was good to see. The punch, yes, it was a hard punch, but I felt like he was looking for that punch for since round 2, and it's just like knockout punches are always organic. Very seldom is it I'm going to hit him with the right hand and then I'm going to slip the body shot. Very seldom does it work like that. You're just going to get caught up in something. You're going to let your hands go. You're going to feel the freedom to let your hands go. And something dramatic is going to happen as a result of that. And when you have somebody like Tank who's just rushing it and looking for it with every shot was 150% bomb. And he's grazing Hector Garcia because Hector Garcia knows, all right, he's really trying to knock my head off. He really wants to please this crowd. But doing it that way isn't always going to cut it. Sometimes it'll cut it. I'm not saying it doesn't always cut it. Sometimes it's going to cut it. But Hector Garcia is a seasoned fighter. He has been in a ton of fights. So somebody like him, he's not going to put his neck out there. And Tank wasn't always trying to put his neck out there. So it's just like when I do throw, I'm going to let my hands go. Yeah, but you also need to warm that up. You also need to set that up. You also need to get your hands flowing in motion. And if you're not doing those things, not to say that it can't happen, but more times out of not, it probably won't happen the way you plan it. And maybe the punch could be a little cleaner. And it was a heavy shot, but it could have been a little cleaner. I would have loved to see what would happen had Hector Garcia got up for that next round. Then I think Tank would have been more aggressive. I think he would have put his hands together a lot better. I think he also would have been willing to stick his neck out there just a little bit more. But I also think we would have saw a little bit more of an aggressive Hector Garcia to try to get Tank off of him. So it would have been, I think, if the fight were allowed to go any further, I think it would have been a lot more aggressive and entertaining. Now, the second question is, do I think that Tank could beat Ryan Garcia with that performance? And I got to be honest with you. A Gervonta Tank Davis who doesn't use his legs isn't the most effective Gervonta Tank Davis. That's number one. Number two, a stationary Gervonta Tank Davis who's pausing here and there in pockets, that's not going to be a very effective Gervonta Tank Davis. I've always been a person who said that Ryan Garcia is no walk in the park. I personally think at 140, Ryan Garcia is more than a test and obstacle for Gervonta Tank Davis. And I'm putting this fight, so initially I put the fight at 60-40. I'm more like 50-50 after watching this fight. I wasn't overly impressed with the way Tank fought because I know he can fight more intelligently than what he showed. Now, if Gervonta Tank Davis shows up with that little game plan where I'll just sit in front of you and pause, that's not going to cut it with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is way too fast. Ryan Garcia hits way too hard. Ryan Garcia can clip you with one punch. Ryan Garcia is very fast. Ryan Garcia is very big and very strong at 140 pounds. So I just don't see Tank using those strategies against Ryan Garcia. Now, also a very, very, very big thing if with the Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis fight. Listen to me now. If Tank does not use his legs, he evens himself out with Ryan Garcia, who doesn't have any legs at all. Now, they're more even. It's going to come down to speed and power. Because if Tank does not use his legs the way he just showed, he wasn't going to use his legs with Hector Garcia. If Gervonta Tank Davis, hear me out, if Gervonta Tank Davis does not use his legs against Ryan Garcia, it could be a very interesting night. And I think Ryan Garcia will have more than an opportunity to put Gervonta Tank Davis in a compromising position if Gervonta Tank Davis does not use his legs, if Gervonta Tank Davis is not explosive with his legs, if Gervonta Tank Davis is not jumping around from angle to angle. If he does this little pausing thing that he did with Hector Garcia, that could be very dangerous because Ryan Garcia is fast enough to get a punch in. A strong punch, yes. Again, Ryan Garcia isn't a guy of special effects, but he's a guy who... Ryan Garcia is the type of guy who takes simplicity and will amplify simplicity. What do I mean? He'll take a simple attack, a 1-2, but he will 1-2 to the max, okay? Meaning like he does the really, really simple attacks, but he's very, very, very effective with simple attacks. He's not going to do anything over the top. He's not a Teofimo Lopez. He's not a Gervonta Tank Davis. He's not a Shakur Stevenson in the way that he thinks. He thinks very simple. Some guys, they say, well, I'm going off to war and I'm going to get this type of machine, you know, like Ryan Garcia is the guy's like, I'll just use my handgun. And like, I'm proficient with it. I'll just use my handgun. I think that's the way he is. And I think it's a safe way. Let me say it like this. Let's say somebody breaks into your house and you have a ton of weapons. And somebody breaks into my house and I have one weapon. Well, I know where I'm going. I'm going to get my one weapon. But if you have a ton of weapons, you're going to be like, well, should I use this one or should I use this? This one might knock out the walls. I don't know about that. This one's going to be really, really loud. I know he could probably get the drop on me. You'll be thinking about which weapon to grab. I don't have to think. I got one weapon. Ryan Garcia is a guy who doesn't have a ton of weapons, but the weapons he has are deadly and dangerous. And he is very proficient with the weapons that he has. He uses very, very simple attacks. But he is a sniper with those simple attacks. And that's dangerous. You're talking about a Gervonta Tank Davis who did not move against Hector Garcia. You're talking about or didn't move side to side. You're talking about a Gervonta Tank Davis who literally in moments would pause and just as if he was stuck in the Matrix, which is pause. Not a good sign. Don't do that either. And then you're talking about a Gervonta Tank Davis who didn't use his legs at all. And in that sense, I just mean use the ring. And he didn't do that. You put that guy in the ring with Ryan Garcia right now. That's a 50-50 fight. I know a lot of you do not like to hear me say that Ryan Garcia has a chance in this fight against Gervonta Tank Davis. But Ryan Garcia absolutely has a chance in a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, especially with the performance that we just saw from Gervonta Tank Davis. He's got a chance. He's got more than a chance. He's got a 50% percentage against Gervonta Tank Davis. Yeah. And you also look at it like this. Ryan Garcia has only been focused on Gervonta Tank Davis. That means even while Gervonta Tank Davis was in camp for Hector Garcia, Ryan Garcia was still just thinking about Gervonta Tank Davis. Yep. He's been putting a whole lot of work in. Whatever he believes he sees, he's fully under the belief that he's seen it. And that performance that Tank just had, again, I'm not saying it was a terrible performance, but there were some question marks for me that didn't make a whole lot of sense. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So those are my thoughts on that. You drop your thoughts down below. Basically, the questions are: was that a great performance by Gervonta Tank Davis? That's number one. Number two, do you think that Gervonta Tank Davis that just defeated Hector Garcia could handle Ryan Garcia with that type of performance? Drop your thoughts down below. As always, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel.